A colorful group of heroines, each with unique personalities but with the same affection for the protagonist. The protagonist, dark-haired high school boy who just wants to live his high school life in peace and may or may not be a dense mother flopper and has overpowered abilities accompanied by plot armor that's as thick as HaREm's thighs. Happy New Year, brothers and sisters of the Redoske family, and these are just some of the components, I suppose, that you would find in your typical harem story or your typical harem protagonist or harem characters. And with whatever genre of anime that you would go with or that you would watch, I'd always go with the same principle of watch and love with whatever you want, right? Even though if others say that it sucks, with the exceptions of some cases. And with the year of 2023 now rolling, I'm really looking forward to a whole lot of the other new animes that come up this year. And looking at the list, really, there's a lot of sequels, season 2's coming out in the couple of seasons, or at least in this in this new season of anime, right? But nevertheless, I'm still excited to watch them, right? But I want to look back into this video. I want to look back on last year's coverage of anime, specifically within the harem genre. And frankly speaking, there are quite a few amazing ones that have come out last year, to be honest, right? There's some good ones there, but frankly speaking, the rest of it is what you'd expect. But regardless, I want to go over each and every one of them, at least to how I would identify them or how I would classify them, with the help of the sources that identify them as a harem anime, right? And I just want to share with you my thoughts on them. To first start off, I want to take a look at the newly produced harem animes in the year 2022. So first off, you have the Demon Lord Reborn as a Nobody, and yep, it's a long title, had to squeeze it down. So as usual, anime with an OP MC, overpowered main protagonist, really similar to Misfit of Demon King or vice versa. I don't know really the concept of reincarnation and the like, and even some parts of the story I find it to be quite similar, to be honest. One waifu is a childhood friend and the other is the ecchi kind, and I have to say that at least within this story, the amount of fantasy within it and the amount of, I guess, action put into it, it's an 80% and the romance of 20%. I'm always considering a good romance in these sorts of stories as well, because why not? Of course, the MC has to have a sad past, and the ending was fine, I suppose. But there's a lot to be, a lot of questions that are yet to be answered. Next, you have the strong sage with the weak crest, and yep, it's as it says. And per usual, it's the main protagonist is OP. And a kid with black hair, and it's the whole idea of concept of weakest is equal to strongest. And with these types of things, right, I feel like there's a difference or distinction between something that is strong but is labeled as weak, and something that is truly weak by nature but you turn it into something that is strong, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that with the case of something that is weak by nature and turn into something strong, that type of idea is something that really makes the story intriguing. And it's not enough that you just have something that is strong but label it as weak. That's kind of bland, right? I don't really like that. But don't get me wrong, there are some shows there with concepts like that I do fine with it, right? The MC is actually some adult, yes, reincarnated, but seeing his interactions are weird, especially with these other characters, with the exception of the dragon girl, the red hair. She's fine. She's a good character, really comedic. The enemies are weird, the fights as well. The final battle was bad, to be honest. I'm sorry. It's quite formulaic. But to be fair, yes, it made me chuckle a few times here and there. Again, particularly mainly because of the dragon character. Next is Black Summer, and this is one isekai slash harem-ish, subtle harem, I would say, that I really find to be quite enjoyable. So as usual, OPMC starter pack, But the MC, to be honest, I find him to be not that bad because he's a absolute battle maniac as it goes, and I guess that's fine in a way because that allows us to really explore a lot of things. The opening theme song is extremely god tier. I can't stop wiggling my finger to it. The fight scenes seem great as well, with the exception of a few CGIs here and there. But if you're not picky about it, then I guess it's fine. The world concept especially is great in my opinion, especially to how the MC tries to explore that with the help as well of the goddess. There's a subtle romance here and there, but more on the adventure. I'd say pretty much the same as the Demon Lord Nobody, with the 20% romance, 80% adventure. And it really truly has a potential to be great because I've continued reading the manga in a few chapters, and it really looks quite amazing in my opinion. Maybe that's just me. Next is Beast Tamer, and boy oh boy, MC is secretly OP, but is dense about it. Of course, it's irritating, honestly, a bit, yeah. But I don't feel any bad malice from the MC, but he's just trying to do what he does because of his, he's trying to get through the struggle of, wait, I'll get to that later. But, it feels like it doesn't. The show itself doesn't really take things too seriously because in a lot of the fight scenes, it just suddenly breaks out into this comedic moment where they just spit out a joke and they turn into their chibi animations, which can be cute animations at times. To be honest, yeah, this is probably the only reason why, or what part of the reason why I really chose to continue on with this anime, because it's incredibly adorable, don't get me wrong, right? But the overall driving factor of it was really that whole redemption arc aspect of it, right? Similar to Shield Hero, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So yeah, a quote-unquote that was a quick resolution type where the fights just happened quickly in the blink of an eye. A lot of cheesy lines were thrown, to be honest. And yes, here we go, the redemption story. So this is a story similar to Shield Hero, where the main protagonist was kicked out of the hero's party. Not hero's party, but like he was kicked out, he was isolated. But then he turns out that he's actually OP and the like. And that comeback felt good when he was able to get revenge and was able to set things straight. Not exactly straight, but he was able to at least prove that he was actually OP all along to those who have fired him, right? And yeah, the MC has a weird shift from being, sad, feeling all depressed, to that of happy whenever the girls, the heroines, begin talking to him. So I don't know, it's just weird. Overall, it's incredibly formulaic, but the animations are just too adorable. Alright, so next we have here, I've somehow gotten stronger when I improved my farming skills. Yep, that's it. I have no... Why farming skills makes you stronger? Well, it actually was revealed in the end. So yeah, MC is secretly OP, but is dense about it, dense towards the heroines as well, which is annoying. MC is weird during fights because he always turns it into a farming lecture. Why not just make the whole show about farming? There's actually an isekai all about that, correct me if I'm wrong, and that's good, right? Why would you have to throw in all the battle for evil and all that, which from the looks of it, seems to be an integral part of the story, because looking at the background from the flashback chapters, that seems to be the case. With that being said, the fights are plain. The mom, though, is great character all around. And the ending to the entire story was kind of weird. Next we have here is Engage Kiss. The MC is average with an OP heroine. And to be honest, I quite kind of like this, the MC just being this guy who wants money, he's in debt, but with the exception of, he partners up with a demon who is incredibly OP, but still they happen to wreak so much havoc that all their reward money happens to be turned into payments to rebuild the stuff, or somewhere along those lines. So there's a yandere, there's a tsundere, and there's a nun, which is awesome. The world concept though was interesting, the whole idea about demons, and along with that as well, the story kind of made me tear up a bit, not gonna lie, because of how it transitioned. I like it. Action of it is 80% romance, a bit 20, or I might say 30% romance, to be honest, or 40 even, or mix of both, to be honest. A couple of cuckoos. This is one of those animes this year that I really enjoyed. Freshly new one that I really enjoyed. The MC is a 70 to 80% non-dense type of character, and it's weird, right? Because if we're talking about a HaREm series that is pure slice of life, I'm not gonna be basing it off on how OP he is, but how dense he is. And in the case of this protagonist, I'd say, yeah, a solid 70 to 85% non-dense, because at least he is a bit aware on what's going on. A bit not at times, yeah, but he does show a great amount of care. All of the heroines are quite wonderful to this story. In the story, especially the stepsister, is best girl, really. And overall, it's generally a good story with a lot of mystery within it. I was even confused at some point, but then it was all revealed and smoothened out, I suppose, in the end. A lot of funny moments with cute and beautiful animations, and it's just a story that doesn't really make you angry at the MC, to which I think that's also one of the vital factors that would keep me engaged in a HaREm anime and in a HaREm series. Love Tops. This is the second or one of the other HaREm animes that I really loved in 2022's coverage of anime. So the MC is good. He's not that dense. He's not that, oblivious either, in a way, right? But he's just doing what he can, right? And the reason for that, will really shock you, right? Because the story is really intriguing, right? The journey of it is intriguing. The heroines are great. That's good to know. But the story confuses you at first because of how the build-up, right, of how it builds up. So the way it goes about it is just a mild spoiler, right? Of course, and this is a setting where all of the girls happen to come across the life of our protagonist, and in a turn of events, the situation is that they all end up living in the same household. Now, of course, as per the HaREm formula, or how HaREm works, or how HaREm goes, it's that the main protagonist will go over, or will try to interact as much with the heroines as much as possible. So the first interaction with the protagonist and the red-haired heroine right there seems to be normal. The second with the platinum blonde-haired heroine, the white-haired heroine, is a bit, okay as well, but then there's a bit of a supernatural element, which is quite surprising. The next with, was it the Mongfa, the green-haired heroine, or yeah, I think it was her, but which then turns into this action, and then there's a lot of elements, genres put into this story that we didn't expect. But it turns out that I'm not gonna spoil you on that, because it really truly has an amazing plot twist to it. But accompanying that plot twist, or despite all of the craziness within it, it really does have a heartfelt story and a really sad backstory behind it, which I think creates this story to have a good ending. The ending of it is great. The opening theme song is amazing as well. Next are animes with a sequel or a continuation. First up, we have Arifureta Season 2. Of course, as a huge Arifureta fan, I am incredibly excited for this season. The story pacing seems alright, at least in the anime perspective, but clearly I know that there's a lot lacking, I feel like, because most of it is explained through narration, and I feel like it's a bit rushed. But at least if you're looking at it from an anime perspective, I don't know if that's really the case. In my case, it does feel like it's alright, but to others, maybe perhaps not. The CGI can be a bit weird in some places here and there, but yeah, either way, the fight scenes seem kind of plain, especially with the in the fight battle between Hajime and the angel, which I will not spoil into that any further. But that was really the whole, I guess, the whole point, or the most hype moment, I suppose. But it fell flat, to be honest. I imagine that the Once in a Light novel is done way better, right? But I haven't gotten to that volume yet. But I do imagine that it's better. But the world building of Fighter really is intriguing, and we get to really learn more from this season. And with the rumors, or at least I don't know if it's really confirmed, there's a visual aid of a third season coming out. That's gonna be really exciting now that we're going to have a lot more characters joining in on the road. And either way, it's gonna be fun. There's also badass new gear, new equipment we got from Hajime and the like, so that's pretty cool. Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom Season 2. Really nice anime as well. A new twist, fresh look to it. You're taking a look at how this protagonist rebuilds the kingdom rather. MC gained chadness, story grew more interesting, new characters, ending was alright, and yeah, that's essentially it. Overall, it was really great. Data Life Season 4. Now, if you don't know, I'm a huge Data Life fan, right? This has been one of my most awaited anime in 2022, and to be honest, it really lived up to my expectations. I found it to be quite delightful. The story pacing is fine. Again, this is only in my perspective when I'm watching the anime. Yep, the ecchi still lives up to it, and the emotions behind the heroine's arc is strongly moderate. It's not too great, to be honest, or not too impactful, quote unquote, but it's still enough to make you feel attached to these characters, right? And to know that Shido really did make a connection with them. The animation is god tier in this one, not gonna lie. It's beautiful, and the ending to this anime makes you even more hyped for the next, incredibly so. And I'm super happy and super excited for the season 5 of this. And the story is still fascinating. Danmachi season 4, right? The adventure continues with a new challenge, a new arc, so to speak. The fight scenes are awesome. The intensity is dialed up to an 11, and the ending makes you hype for the next. And honestly, this is just a type of show where, the action really carries it a lot, and there's not a lot of romance, quote unquote, on it, right? Even though that was, partially, or that was really highlighted in a lot of the other seasons. With this one, it dials it down a bit to really focus more towards the action, specifically towards the conflict of this story, and it is really incredibly intriguing. Excited for the next one. And I also wanted to give this a special mention, which is the Quintessential Quintuplets movie, and I absolutely love it. This is such a beautiful movie with beautiful animation. It has a really intriguing story to it. A really intriguing story in the sense that it really, concludes up the story as much as it can, and it really did conclude it, right? It really concludes the story to the final volume, or to the final chapter, so to speak, of this manga, meaning that it really ended it, right? But I have to say that my one critique about this is that the pacing and direction of the movie was a bit confusing in some parts. I don't know if it's just me, perhaps, but yeah, rewatching it again, you'd understand why. But yeah, nevertheless, it really did have a satisfying conclusion to it, and the overall backstory and history of the quintuplets and the mother, it really is amazing and interesting, as someone who hasn't read the manga that far yet. 2022, I feel like, is such a, I don't know if I could say, call it weird or an amazing weird, yeah, odd year to be pumping out this many, quote unquote, culture, not that many, but a good amount of quote unquote cultured anime, and if you know what I'm talking about, it's something along the lines of Interspecies Reviewers and Redo Healer, which came out, before. But with this one, the ones that we have right now, yep, it's a lot. But hear me out, right? Hear me out. First one I want to talk about is the one that came out early in 2022, which is Worlds and HaREm. Really controversial anime and the like, for obvious reasons. And a couple of things to note: the MC is quite a Chad. The world system is interesting in the sense that, trying to see how the world would be like without men, and how the government systems would rule, right? And how whether they want to restore it back to normal or not is, there's a lot of questions that lead up to that. Of course, the characters, the male characters, are fascinating as well, and this is one of the things that really intrigued me as part of the world system, right? Because they really follow along as well to the perspectives of the male characters, aside of the side male characters, right? Because there's this one instance where we get to see the backstory of this one particular male character, and get to see how he would interact, and he would grow how he would change within this new environment. Now that he thinks that he's the only male alive. But there's really a lot of interesting forces and factors that come into play with a story like this, with a setting like this for that matter. And of course, you can't forget there's a lot, can't stress on the amount of ecchi moments in this show. But nevertheless, I feel like it does have potential to be amazing if it continued. And the reason for me saying that is because of the in the last few, or in the ending episodes of it, where things really get heated up, where the conflict really gets serious, right? And I'm really excited to see as well, even though I've never read the original source material. I'm really excited to see if it gets continued. I'm really excited to see how it would turn out. It's such a shame that it would end in a cliffhanger, because I really did enjoy my time trying to figure out the mysteries of this world. So that's a plus, at least. HaREm in the Labyrinth of Another World. This was quite the more disappointing side, in my opinion, for the reason of, I'll get back to that, right? So the MC is the typical quote-unquote wanna get some type of guy. So yeah, reincarnated, transferred, I forgot, but guy gets into another world. It's based on an RPG based system, and he just wants to get some. Roxanne is the best girl, that's one, and there's no actually harem, so to speak. So all that that won't come out until the last few episodes, the last episode for that matter, unless if you've read the original source material. So there's that. There's a lot of adventure and world building into this. Even more so, they spend more time in the labyrinth than in the bedroom. I'm sorry, but I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I mean, the world system, or at least in the way that it tries to interpret how the magic system of it works, how magic works, and how to level up, it seems kinda bland, typical, formulaic. Yeah, and yeah, the ecchi is there because it's there. Why not? And the HaREm speedrun at the end. It's weird. Peter Grill season 2. Why bother, man? The MC is a douche or not. I don't know how you would, spin it in your perspective. No, yeah. If you know, you know. It's really weird, and it's practically almost the same as season 1, except there are more heroines. So yeah, no. Immoral Guild, though, was a pretty much the same, really. No, it's kind of hard to explain what I'm feeling about this, right? So MC is great, right? He just wants a break, and all that. He's not some ecchi horn dog or something, or a dense mother flipper or anything like that. He's just a guy who wants to retire adventuring, right? Well, yeah, but the heroines, though, are quite hilarious, and one way or another I quite enjoy their company. But on the other hand, they can be also a pain in the butt at lots of times, especially when they're not doing their job properly. There's a lot of flaws to them. That's what I'm trying to say. But you know, it's the meme where the saying where you know they got the spirit at least, or something like that. Um, the animation though was satisfying. When I first came watching this, I was quite surprised, I suppose, and intrigued by the animation style. And the more I watch it, the more I grew into it, right? Or the more I love it. It was nice. It grew to me. There you go. Yep, the ecchi is in high gear, and the reason for that is because it's explained. It was explained in the end. And I mean, why bother spinning it in the end anyway? I mean, it does provide background as to why, but even without the explanation, it's just overall I don't know, really bad, quote unquote, or really general and formulaic way of, that's just how ecchi goes. That's just how ecchi works. And yeah, the action sequences, especially on part of the MC, is quite nice. The opening theme song, the song is great, and the comedy is all right to it. And again, I guess the reason why I love this show so much is, I guess it's really because of how the main protagonist really interacts with these heroines. So it's about the comedic aspect of this story. I can try to make way and ignore the ecchi of it, but either way, this is a really enjoyable show for me, at least in my opinion. And with all that being said, happy new year, family, and take care.